welcome to the Fantasy Boardroom. As always, I am your host, Tycoon. Happy to have you here. We're just a few short weeks away from the NFL season. We have another great show for you, and I am proud to say another great guest for you. We started off slow without any. Now we've got some pretty good ones back to back, and this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Bill Mustafa. Bill, welcome, sir.
How you doing, mate? All good?
Doing great. So Bill is actually one of our own, Fantasy Rogue's own. He is also a writer for Fantasy and Frames for his own site, Football Betting Advice. So when, obviously in addition to our Discord, make sure you're checking that out. Links will be posted throughout the season. You're going to want those detailed write-ups. It's also a podcast host, Dial Up the Blitz, and I don't know if we want to say too soon, but we're going to have another one starting in the near future under the Rogue brand. I think titled To Be Determined.
Yeah, we've got a few ideas banding around, but I think we've settled on one. But let's not ruin the surprise.
No. We'll leave a little intrigue, but let's just say it will be a little more gambling focused, not fantasy. We've got a man of many talents here, and it's just one of the brighter fantasy minds, particularly dynasty minds, that I've had the pleasure of playing with over the last several seasons. So having him be part of the team and just a friend has been awesome. So glad to have you here, Billy, and share your knowledge with the masses.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me back after all my Jamar Chase slander last preseason.
Hey, you can't get them all right.
You can't get them all right.
And when I think about it, I don't look at it so much as Chase slander. I just look at it as extreme Devonta Smith love, which I'm still on board with.
Yeah, yes. It's still there.
No, and people are sleeping on him. I mean, in Dynasty, I think he's a hell of a buy target. But even in redraft, I think he's a pretty good value.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. I'm trying to buy a lot of Devonta Smith, but let's get on to what we're going to be talking about today.
So we're not talking about the East today. That's been done. We're moving on to the West divisions. So like we did in the previous episode with Kev, instead of going down team by team like a lot of these divisional breakdowns do, we're going to go position by position. And we are going to start on the NFC side. Why? Because there is one player at one position that I know you're a big fan of, that I share that mutual love for, and that's kind of where I need to start. So really, we'll just try to make it obvious. We're talking about the NFC West. We're talking about quarterbacks. I'm going to ask you for a very simple start to just rank the 4 starting quarterbacks for fantasy purposes.
Trey Lance, number 1. Kyler Murray, number 2. Matt Stafford, number 3. And I don't care who's playing quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks.
Identical.
It's irrelevant.
It is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Don't draft the Seahawks quarterback.
Basically, yeah. Or draft them both and you've got a QB3 between the two of them. I don't really know what other purpose they serve.
If you need to fill some spots at the end of a super flex draft, go for it. Had one quarterback completely irrelevant, but the most important takeaway here is that Trey Lance is the QB1 out of the NFC West.
Yeah, for me, I don't know if you remember when we spoke last season, he was my QB1 coming out in that class, that 2021 class. And I don't, we didn't see much of him last season, but I don't think any of the other guys, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson and Matt Jones have shown me anything to make me go, I'm a little bit worried about that take. Like, I still think Trey has got the biggest upside. I still think he's super athletically talented. He for me is the guy that people should be looking at and going, well, that's Josh Allen. That's the guy that's going to make the leap like Josh Allen did. I keep on hearing, Jalen Hurts, Daniel Jones. No, there is one guy in the NFL that has the capacity to do what Josh did, in my opinion, and that's Trey Lance.
I'm with you. God, as a 49ers fan, I can only dream he can become anything close to what Josh Allen is. But it's the tool set. Daniel Jones did not even part of this conversation. Hurts, I like as a guy. I love as a runner. He is an okay passer, but he's not a good passer, not a great passer. He's shown improvement there. So I'm not going to rule out potential future improvement, but I don't know that he has the talent there to match, what we've seen from Allen.
No.
And when it comes to Lance, obviously we know he can run. the guy has an absolute cannon for an arm. So he's got that tool set. In his case, it's really that touch, that refinement, that nuance to throwing the ball is what he's got to work on. And he's shown a little bit of improvement of that already, in camp. And the first preseason game, he looked pretty clean. And he's got the best weapons to work with out of any of these quarterbacks in this division, in my opinion. So, I mean, the recipe is there for him to have a monster year, even if he has rookie struggles.
Yeah, and I think rookie struggles is to be expected. Like, for me, this is, and obviously, we know that Trey Lance's rookie season was last year, but this is his real rookie season. This is where he's going to be a starter, a first-time starter in the NFL. And, he's got Deebo Samuel, he's got Brandon Ayuk, he's got George Kittle, he's got a good line, and probably most importantly, he's got Kyle Shanahan drawing up plays for him. So, yeah, he's, in my opinion, he's definitely in the best position of the quarterbacks in the division, definitely the best of the quarterbacks that he was drafted amongst. And I'm expecting big things from Trey Lance. I'm a huge Trey Lance fan. For me, he's a guy I would take once Mahomes, once Allen, once Herbert have gone and you're talking Superflex. I'm starting to put him in the categories with the guys just after those three, to be honest, because I'm expecting big things. And I know it's a bit of an upside swing, and people say, oh, it's a reach, but he's a guy that you take now and he might be unattainable next off season because he's the guy we think he is.
Right, particularly in Dynasty, but in redraft too. I mean, think about Hurts last season. A lot of people tried to proclaim some similar things in terms of at least, his fantasy relevance in particular, and wasn't really listened to. He was an absolute steal, especially in one quarterback drafts. And look where he's at now. Yeah, I've got Trey Lance as my QB8 overall going in. So basically behind that elite class, and then I've got him behind Burrow and Brady as well for this year.
Yeah, for this year, Brady, Rodgers, guys like that. I could see that like bottom of the top 10. But for me in Dynasty, which is obviously my focus, he's a lot higher.
In Dynasty, he's pushing top 5 for me. I think I've got him at 5 in Dynasty.
I've got him at 5 as well. Yeah,
we're in love. So no real experience concerns though for this season. I think we both expect a little bit of up and down due to his lack of experience, but I think even in his down games, the strong team will be able to help pick him up. So
yeah, I agree, and you're completely right. It's that touch and accuracy that just needs some work and some development, and I don't see any reason why that myth has been broken that you can't teach it. I think as long as he's willing to put the work in, we've got a stud on our hands.
If you have a good coaching staff and a guy willing to put in the work, like you said, it can be done. We've seen Lamar show notable improvement, in my opinion, over the last few years. I mean, he's still got some work to do himself, but from how he was viewed coming out of Louisville to now, I mean, it's night and day.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I mean, even Allen, wild accuracy. He was all over the place the first 2 seasons, and then was elite in his 3rd year. So
yeah, another guy with a hose.
Coach.
Yeah, another guy with a hose, and that is a great athlete. There's no reason that Trey can't take a similar path.
With you. All right, so moving down the division, though, we'll move off our boy. Any concerns about Stafford's elbow going into this year, or do you still view him high end, there with Cooper, Robinson?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's got, again, similarly to Lance in terms of the weapons he's got. He's got Cooper Kupp, who, if you had him on your fantasy teams last season, congratulations, you probably want to ship. Allen Robinson is a massive upgrade over Robert Woods, in my opinion. I think we're going to see the Allen Robinson that we have seen in previous years, and not so much the guy that we saw last year. But I don't know, this Stafford, people forget, but obviously because they won the Super Bowl, a lot of things sort of get washed over. But Stafford was making some awful mistakes last season, especially down the stretch, some silly interceptions, just not seeing the field as well as we expected him to, being in that offense. And I think Matt Stafford's mistakes in the past have kind of been like, well, it's the Lions. It's the Lions. He's got no help. He's trying to do it all. He hasn't got that excuse in LA. I still think he's a guy that in redraft leagues, especially Superflex redraft leagues, you're going to take him, as a top 10 quarterback, around that area, definitely as a QB1. But that elbow injury worries me, and just the fact that after, let's forget the playoffs. Let's just talk about regular season. Some silly mistakes he was making, not seeing the field great, like we've said. And I just wonder how much having that Super Bowl is going to kind of be like, okay,
does he relax a little bit?
Yeah, does he relax a little bit? Does he take his foot off the gas a little bit? Does he rely on just getting the ball to Cooper Kupp constantly? I don't know. Like, I'm not saying he's going to fall off a cliff, but I think there's better options around where you would draft Matt Stafford for me.
Honestly, another player I don't really have anything to add on. Those are largely my feelings. I am not willing to bump him down too much because it's still going to be a high-powered offense. He still has two absolute stud receivers. We'll see how the running game does. I'm not particularly optimistic about Akers. I mean, the fact that he played last year was optimistic, but I'm not expecting huge things from him. I like Darrell Henderson, but again, he is just barely more than just a guy in all reality. So, but still,
I treat the Rams backfield like I treat the Patriots backfield. I'm not really interested in it for fantasy purposes.
That's fair. I'll bring it up later, but I like Hendo later just because I don't trust the potential health of Akers. We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Fair enough.
But as far as Stafford goes, still fringe QB1 for me. I think I have him at 13. So still right there, but
yeah, I think I've got him at 12, so just ahead, but around there, yeah.
But even in that range, probably just going another route. If it's super flex, just find another quarterback later, get a better skill player in that spot. So what about Kyler? I mean, he's probably consensus-wise viewed as the top quarterback in this league, but I mean, I don't know, new Call of Duty this year. So I worry.
What?
I mean, I don't know if you saw that Reddit post that went around a while back, but somebody took his splits from before and after, or no, not before and after. It was during double experience points weekends for Call of Duty, and he's a slightly worse performer on all of those weekends. Now, I mean, some of them were kind of silly. I think yards per game, he had like 6 yards less per game on those weekends, but still, a lot's been made of Kyler grinding Call of Duty there on the weekend. So
that's the most Reddit thing I've ever heard. It's so Reddit. What is that contract? Like, what stipulation are you adding to that contract? You know that contract's gonna get scrutinized. That he's the next QB to get paid, and you had something stupid like that just.
I can't believe his agent let that be put in.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It really is just ridiculous. But Cardinals we thought they were kind of getting their stuff together a little bit, but the Cardinals are going to Cardinal, and they're going to do stupid stuff. I don't know with Kyler. He's one of them guys that you look at and go, okay, well, he's got a great deep ball. He's got some weapons. He's got an offensive coordinator that his head coach, let's say Cliff Kingsbury, is a guy that we look at as one of the better offensive minds. I'm not sure if I completely agree with that, but you've got Nick Hopkins. Just stop lining them up in one position and move them around a little bit. Anyway, I digress. The guy can run around. He can do everything. Every year when it comes to fantasy, I'm just like, is he going to hold up? Is this going to be his RG3 year where he gets hit, he gets hurt, and he stays hurt? I don't know. Like, I'm not a big proponent of Kyler Murray. I don't know. Part of me just feels like he's one hit away or one contract discussion away from saying, "Stop this! I'm going to play baseball." And thinking always with my dynasty hat on, I'm like, I don't really want any part of that. I'll stay away. There's better value to be had at similar range. For redraft, after just signing his contract, I get it. I wouldn't blame anyone for taking him, but I just think at the range that you have to take him before somebody else does, there's other guys I'd prefer.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, similar feelings about the Cardinals. I'm not a big fan of Cliff. I think he's incredibly overrated as an offensive mind, at least on the NFL level. He's average. I don't know. He gets figured out about halfway through the season every year.
Yeah, exactly.
And exactly. I don't anticipate that changing. Kyler, you mentioned, you worry about him getting hurt and staying hurt. I think we've kind of seen, I mean, I don't know that he necessarily stayed hurt, but he's taken some big shots partway through the season the last couple of years, and his willingness to run from then on lessened. So stays in his mind.
If he doesn't have that, toddler that's just stolen something he shouldn't have, scrambling and running ability, he's not the QB that he is when he's fully functioning and when he's got all his weapons available. Like, he's not going to be able to sit in the pocket and make plays from there, but that's not what his game is. So as soon as you take away his legs, whether you do that via scheme or whether you do that via his own fear, he's not the guy that you're drafting at that range. So for me, I try and stay away. If everyone in the league's thinking like me and his value drops and he becomes a bit of a steal, I'll take him. But he's not a guy that I go into drafts actively trying to get on my roster.
No, I find him just far too highly valued. I mean, if he fell out of QB1 range is where it just be willing to take him, and that won't happen. So
no, yeah, I agree. We're probably on the same. Seems like we agree with all these quarterbacks.
So far, we do. So we're not even going to talk about Seattle. We're just going to save some time and skip that. Who cares? But running backs for this division. So we've got, I think, on 3 of these 4 teams, what you could call some ambiguity at the position. So Eli Mitchell should hold the RB1 role in San Francisco. I mean, he's clearly the lead back in San Francisco, but the running back one in San Francisco in Shanahan's tenure has had trouble staying healthy. So, we've seen some little injuries, including currently with Mitchell as it is. So is he going to be able to hold up to the rigors? And then we've got Rashad Penny, kind of he struggled with health throughout his career. Kenneth Walker, we know, has a hernia issue. Pete Carroll's revealed the last couple of days, and we already kind of alluded to Akers and Henderson. So one guy coming off of a ruptured Achilles, another guy that's just a guy. I mean, do you have any real high opinions of any of the running backs on those 3 teams?
So what I do now, what I've decided I do in redraft is if the Niners take a running back late, I'll draft him. Because that tends to be the guy, or seems to be the guy, you get at value and he does something. Tyrion Davis-Price was a guy coming out of LSU that I liked. I thought, this guy's got something. He's got a bit of wiggle about him. He's a guy I felt was under the radar, which is unusual for a guy coming out of LSU. I didn't expect him to end up I didn't expect him to go inside the top 100 picks. I expected him to fall a little bit further than that. And for him to be picked, top 100 pick for a running back is pretty good capital these days. You're talking the first running back went in the 40s, and then I think Walker was the early 50s. So, it's not bad capital. He's gone to a team that like to run the ball. So he's the guy that I'm smashing in the later rounds. But in terms of the big boys out, the guys mentioned, for me, it's Rashad Penny. I like Kenneth Walker, but like you said, he's got hernia issues, and I just don't know if he's big enough to hold up as a lead back in the NFL. I really enjoyed watching him at Michigan and hope that he proves me wrong. He was my RB1 coming out, but that says more about the class than it does about how I feel about Kenneth Walker personally. So for me, Rashad Penny, I think he finished the season last year really well. Pete Carroll's finally got Russell Wilson out of town, so he's going to run that rock. He
isn't going to back off regardless of game situation either.
That's it.
They might run 65% of the time this season.
Would it surprise you? If the man really wanted to throw the football, he would have made a play for a Baker Mayfield or a Jimmy Garoppolo, or at least someone that offers him a little bit more than Drew Lock and Geno Smith. So
it's looking like Geno may be playing. So
exactly. So for me, Rashad Penny, I'm planning on riding him until he injures himself and can't play, because I think he's going to get the touches, and I think he showed towards the end of last season that when he's healthy, he can run a damn ball. He's my guy out of those lot. He's my guy.
I think he definitely offers the most upside of all those guys, that's for sure. But with where he is being drafted, I'm in the wrong page, no wonder. So this is just consensus ADP.
Yeah.
Unless he's dropped a little bit. Oh, here we go. RB 33, 86 overall on average.
If he's healthy, the majority of the season, does he finish outside of RB2 range? Does he finish outside of RB2?
No,
I don't think so.
If he plays 13, 14 games, he's absolutely an RB2 and probably a higher end one if he can stay healthy throughout that whole stretch, I'll say.
I took him. So in our fantasy and frames like staff league, redraft league, I took him with the 607. I took him middle of the 6th round. Now, obviously, industry leagues are a little bit different. You know, it seems like everyone's a shark and everyone's taking everyone's guys. You know, you have a queue lined up. By the time it comes to your pick, there's no one left on the queue. But for me, I'll take him middle of the 6th rounds. Every draft. If he's there for me in the middle of the 6th, I'm going to take him. That's how I play fantasy football. I'm shooting for the upside. And I think Rashad Penny has a good amount of it coming into this year. I'm just crossing my fingers he can stay healthy.
That's fair for me. See, I'm probably not willing to take that. I mean, definitely shooting for upside always. That's probably still a little too much of a risk for me when it comes to Penny, but I don't hate it. I mean, I'd probably start to consider it more, maybe around later, like towards the end of the 7th.
Yeah.
All right. And then the one guy in the division that might, be the quote no doubter for his team is James Conner. Doesn't really have any real competition for his role. He did show some durability last season. Health has, been a bugaboo for him previously, but he held up pretty well last year. Do you have confidence he can do that again in 2022? Or down on him, kind of like Kyler and Cliff and the Cardinals as a whole?
James Conner scored 18 touchdowns last season.
Bingo. That TD regression is going to be real.
That TD regression's coming. Like, if we're going to regress to the mean, the guy's not. If he scores 18 touchdowns again, I'll eat my hat. But it's not happening. I don't know. I'm kind of out on James Conner. You know, he's going too high in drafts.
Way too high.
Yeah, like
31 overall consensus ADP. Woof.
Come on.
Drafting him at the end of the 3rd or middle of the 3rd, really?
Middle of the 3rd, I can get Rashad Penny middle of the 6th or later. Come on, what are we doing? People? It's not going to happen again. I know people. I get it. You know, Chase Edmonds is out of town. Everyone's going, it's just going to be James Conner. When you give James Conner a bigger workload, he's increased in the opportunity to get injured. He's a guy that's not shown, apart from last season, that he can stay healthy. What's the anomaly? His time at the Steelers or his one season in Arizona? I'm out. The only time I'd be interested, if he picks up a niggle in training camp, or he picks up a niggle in preseason, and guys start to sell and go, it's the same old James Conner, and I can pick him up at, in the discount bin, in the bargain bin, then I might have a look. But taking him at the end of the 3rd round, madness.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, he'd have to drop probably pretty significantly for me. I mean, he's going as RB16. I think you've got him in like that 22 or something. I don't have my running back rankings here, but he is definitely down there. I mean, he's going to have that role to himself. I don't predict injury too often. Like I try not to with even with Penny. So, but even still, I'd need a little bit of a fall, and in his case, a lot of a fall because, like that TD regression is really the thing that sticks in my mind. 18 touchdowns, like that's just no chance that happens again.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, I think 10 is going to be a challenge. Frankly,
if he hits 10, he's done well.
Yeah, that's a great season by all standards.
Yeah, and you're nearly halving what he got last year. Like, I just don't see a path for him to repeat what he did in 2021. And for me, I feel like he's being drafted at his ceiling, and I'm not interested when I'm drafting at ceiling.
I think even with Edmonds gone, I really don't think he's going to get that much more volume anyways. I really don't.
I don't know if he can handle much more volume.
No, and I think the Cardinals know that.
Yeah.
So I really don't see a huge uptick, and I think you'll see just a little bit more of Eno Benjamin and whoever the hell else they have in Arizona.
Yeah, whoever else they've got,
And got to come here. What up from Anthony, a.k.a. Rosta, our friends over at Get Right Fantasy. Glad you're here to join us, my friend. So the running backs in this division then as a whole, not really are most exciting, except for the shiny Penny.
Yeah. For me, it's Penny. I'll take Walker if I can get him later on as a handcuff. Apart from that, I'm out unless value appears. and I'll take Price if I can get him late, because I just like whoever the Niners draft the running back
It's
relatively late.
understandable. Frankly, I'm not a big Price guy. I actually kind of hated that pick by the Niners, just like the Sermon pick last year. I think very much overdrafted. And I think Mitchell is a legitimate back. I think he has Shanahan's trust. I think he's performed. For him, it's just, can he hold up, which I'm a little concerned about, but he's, going at an acceptable range too, Mitchell. So, RB23, I'm in at that price.
It's one of those things with the Niners that I've looked at, when I looked at some of the linemen that they'd been drafted, obviously bringing in Trey Lance and then with the Trey Sermon pick, and I started to wonder if Kyle Shanahan was moving away from that outside zone and coming more, wanting to run the ball inside between the tackles. And I think if, I don't know if that's the case. It's me kind of, seeing a pattern in how they're drafted and maybe sort of saying, look, there's a lot of my guys in the league now that know how we want to run the ball. They know the tricks of the trade. Let me mix it up a little bit and become a little bit more of a between the tackles running team. And if that's the case, I don't know if Elijah Mitchell holds up. I don't know if he gets the goal line work.
No, he won't hold up. No. He needs to be in the zone scheme.
Yeah, and even if they, I'm not saying they completely go away from the outside zone, because that is the Shanahan staple. But even if they add a little bit more of that between the tackle stuff, that inside run stuff, how many of his touches get taken away from him? How many of the goal line work comes away from him? I just think we could see a little bit more of Price and a little bit more of maybe Trey Sermon even. That it's enough for me to sort of have questions about Elijah Mitchell. And again, a little bit how I treat the Rams, I treat the Niners backfield a little bit like the Patriots, and I can't try and stay away from it.
Kind of fair. For me, it's true. It's really just like, honestly, Penny and Connor for me. I think it's all about health in this case, because I think there's a misconception that Shanahan likes to have, this big running back rotation when really, because people look at the running back one for the team year over year. It's completely injury. So now, again, you can make the argument that his style that he's running leads to durability issues for his backs. But regardless, it's not like he's out there trying to give even touches to some trio. So
of course.
So for me, it's just a matter of him holding up. And I also, it's easier for me to buy in because I don't really buy in on Sermon or Price's talents.
Yeah, that's the thing for me, is that I don't look at it so much as, like with the Patriots, where they try and give equal touches and keep a healthy rotation. It's more just a case of, why all of a sudden has Shanahan had a type as a running back and now he's going away from that type? In my mind, that goes to, well, what's the reasoning behind that? And the only reason that I could fathom was, maybe not a complete change of scheme, but a sprinkle or an added element. And it's enough for me to go, well, I want to see first. I want to see what they roll out week 1, week 2, week 3 before I commit and take Elijah Mitchell, even at his, bottom end RB2 price.
That's understandable. And to throw in Rafi Bomb here, Shannon isn't much of a choice using multiple backs considering their backfield. Yeah, exactly what we're saying.
Exactly what we said, yeah.
But see, some people get it, but I think it's important to throw out that I think it is a misconception that Shanahan likes to mix up his backs. No, he likes to ride a guy if he has a guy he can ride.
Oh, yeah, he does. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Now, while the running backs may leave a little to be desired in this division, this is a loaded division at receiver. Unreal.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, we've got legitimate dynamic duos on every team. We've got Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Cooper Kupp with Allen Robinson, Nook Hopkins, week 7 and later with Hollywood Brown, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. I will not hear Tyler Lockett disrespect from anybody. That is a great duo, the two of them, regardless of how shitty their quarterback is.
Who's throwing in the ball.
Yeah. So, there's elite names across the board here in the NFC West. So, really, the true big boys, how high are you on those guys? And I'm talking about, of course, Deebo Samuel and Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly getting back to the depth of wide receiver in this division, the Fantasy and Frames team, we wrote an article recently, like just a fantasy outlook of each division. And I was on wide receivers for the NFC West and doing some research. every single tandem, outside receiver tandem in the division has an ADP inside the top 100.
Wow. Wow. So all 8 of them, huh? Wow.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Doing my research,
no other division can boast that, right?
No, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Look, I mean, getting back to the question, Cup and Debo, for me, I'm super high on Cup. I don't think there's any way he falls out of being a top five wide receiver. I think that's his flaw. I think he's just going to get all the targets. He's just going to get so much of the ball, so much opportunity with the ball in his hands. I just don't see how he doesn't finish barring injury, obviously, doesn't finish as a top 5 wide receiver. Debo, I've been back and forth on all off season. Obviously it all started with the contract stuff. Is he going to move? Is he going to go? Now the contract's signed. I still have some concerns, which I'm happy I'm here. I can talk to you about being the Niners fan. Some of the issues, or not issues, but how's he going to be used? Is he going to be used the same way? I don't know.
I don't think he is. No, I don't think he will be used the same way.
I don't think he will be. The O-line's good, but I would argue that it's got worse from last season.
You can make that argument. Well, it's really going to depend on Aaron Banks and how he looks.
Yeah, exactly. Who was a guy that when you picked him, I was a little bit like, oh, that's an interesting pick for a Kyle Shanahan offensive line. And then what's his chemistry going to be like with Trey Lance? Does Trey Lance, all the news out of training camp seems to be that Trey Lance really likes Brandon Ayuk. And correct. We know that rookie and young quarterbacks love a tight end, and you've got one of the best in George Kittle. So how does that, if the ball's not going to be in his hand as a runner to make them explosive plays in open field and to score them touchdowns running the rock, is he still wide receiver 2 like he was last year? Is he still top 3, top 4, top 5, whatever you like, top 6? I don't know. Now, talent-wise, I have absolutely no doubt. Deebo Samuel was an absolute stud. Absolute stud.
No question.
I just don't know if his usage is going to make him a fringe wide receiver 1, as opposed to, like he was last year, a stud wide receiver 1, top 3 at the position.
That's the path I think it's headed, frankly. He's obviously in no way going to disappear. I mean, he just got paid. He's an amazingly talented player. I mean, the guy's a dog, but and also actually, as far as chemistry with Lance, 2 of his bigger games last year were Lance's starts. So I don't think that's going to be much of an issue, but I do think the usage, like you said, is going to be a bit different this year. He's, through camp, the chemistry, and he worked out a lot with Ayuk throughout the course of the offseason. So they've been building that chemistry all offseason. He'll be looking his way, probably relying more on Kittle than Jimmy has in the last 2 years. And I think as far as the deep plays go, when he takes those shots, I think that's going to be Ayuk more than it's going to be Debo this season. So he'll still get his crazy yak, but I think a handful of those potential long bomb touchdown plays are not going to be his for the taking when the season comes through. So I think he's going to be right there, fringe wide receiver 1 territory. Still going to be a stud, but I would not be taking him in that top 5, top 6 range.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely in a tier below agreement. Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, those guys.
Yeah, Stephon
Diggs, Adams. Yeah. Diggs is my wide receiver 2.
Diggs is my wide receiver 1.
All right. I love it.
Homer take.
Yeah. He will rely on about 40, 50 screen passing. Yeah, exactly. That's going to be, I wouldn't be surprised if half or more of his receptions are within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. Yeah. Or behind.
Yeah, no, I agree. But obviously, Trey Lance has got that ability to use his legs. He can see a dump down pass, or he can see the easy completion, and does he go, well, I can get through here, I can go on my legs, or what I'm a little bit more worried about is he can extend plays with his legs like Jimmy G couldn't, to then look for that downfield shot. Look, where's Ayuk, where's George Kittle for the, I can throw it to Deebo Samuel 5 yards away and he's going to go and get 20, or I can just eat it 30 yards down the field and Brandon Ayuk's going to go up and catch it. That's what I'm a little bit more worried about. But look, he's still a stud. Deebo Samuel's a stud. Like I've got no. If he was my wide receiver one, I'm not worried. I'm not worried.
No. I'd still be happy with that. I mean, honestly, as long as he gets the ball in his hands, he's going to make a lot of things happen. It's just a matter of how many touches he gets in the end.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Now, how about DeAndre Hopkins? So he'll be back week 7 following his PED suspension. Number one, are you optimistic about what he can do from that point on? And number two, he's obviously been discounted due to the suspension. He's down around, I want to say, like 100 overall. Oh, no. He's been drafted. It's about 78 overall.
I was going to say he was in the early 80s when I looked. So he's coming
so he's right there mid 8th round. Or, I'm sorry, mid 7th round. So, are you optimistic about it? And are you willing to take a shot there mid 7th in a redraft league and wait for it?
No. I'm a little bit out on DeAndre Hopkins. For me, at that range, when we're talking the top 7-8 rounds, I want guys that are going to help me all year. Now, I appreciate, we're going to get him back after week 6 and, for the championship run and all the rest of it. But he's still coming back from injury. Let's not forget that he was hurt. He's 30.
Yeah.
Father time comes for everybody. And I'm not for 1 minute saying that he's washed and that he's not the same guy, but I don't know, man. Hollywood Brown's there. Hollywood Brown's going to have 6 games to get into a rhythm and make himself Kyler's number 1 option in the passing game. I just don't know if Nooks. I'm not taking him there. I'm not taking him in the 7th round. I'm not taking him in the 8th round. If he falls, if he falls 10th round and later, and I go, well, that's a guy I don't mind stashing on the bench for the first 6 games. And if I'm in a championship window, then fantastic. I plug and play him and see what he does. But I'm not convinced. I feel like this could be the beginning of the end for Nook Hopkins as a fantasy stud. Which is all he deserves after going out and mossing my team a couple of seasons ago.
Now, the guy's dead. I still have a lot of belief in him. I'm not really all that worried about him physically when he comes back, just because, it's been a significant amount of time. I've got to think he's gotten himself well healed up in that time. I haven't really heard much about him still dealing with recovery, although I can't say I've paid the closest of attention to the Cardinals teams. And as much as I think of Hollywood Brown, which it is a lot, I still think, Nuke is the no doubt guy, number 1 when he returns.
Nuke's got the profile as well. Like he is a number 1 outside receiver, whereas Hollywood's a little bit like, well, we can put him in the slot, we can put him outside, we can do this, we can do that with him. And the thing is, that, something else that goes in his favour is he's never relied on speed. He's never relied on being a burner.
His athleticism has never been the key driver to his game.
Exactly. So his age might not affect him as it will some receivers. I just don't know I just think maybe the days of Nook being a wide receiver 1 are gone. Especially with the young talent coming up and the way the game's played.
That's fair.
I don't know. I don't know.
What can I say? I can't quote him yet. I've got to see more of a decline to still get off the guy. For me, he was, a top 3 receiver in the league for at least a 5-year stretch. So
he was a stud. He was a stud. It's just I don't know. Maybe it's that Hal Murray I'm still salty about, but
that's fair too. But the price though has risen too much. I between mocks and a couple of early drafts, I was able to get him in the 9th and the 10th a couple of times. Generally was going around the 9th. Mid-9th, I'm very much in, especially if in a 3 wide receiver league, I already have 3 receivers. Or there's still somebody on the board I see next round, or that should be there the following round, that can be an adequate fill-in at that 3rd receiver spot for the first.
Just a quick comparison, going slightly off topic. Where's Michael Thomas? What Michael Thomas's ADP?
74.2. So about a third of a round earlier currently.
Yeah, it's close, and for me, it shouldn't be like I'm taking Michael Thomas.
No, that's not even a question. The guy, number 1 is healthy. Number 2, playing all season.
Yeah, so like that kind of range.
There's a lot better.
It's too expensive.
Yeah, he's definitely risen. I feel like he was hovering around the late 80s, like 90 for a while, and I think just as people get back into it, see the name. I think it's almost name recognition just pushing up the board. It's not like we've had some big optimistic reports or like his suspension is going to get removed or anything. So I mean,
it is that. I think it's people just seeing, oh, Nook Hopkins available all the way down here. Let me go and get him and stash him.
Yeah, I wonder how many people may not even be aware he's going to be suspended the first 6 weeks.
They shouldn't be playing fantasy football if they're not aware.
Probably not. But I mean, there's a lot of people that play that maybe shouldn't. Yeah, but we like to take advantage of those people. That's why those of you watching this here today are going to win your leagues, because you're going to be prepared and ready.
That's it.
So we've got kind of a split case when it comes to the tight ends in this division. So we've got a stud in Kittle. I still have him, I don't have him in the Kelsey Andrews tier, but I still have him right there with where Pitts, Waller go into. I have him still that top 5.
Yeah, for me, he's top 5. Top 5 for me, easy. Kittle's a stud, man. George Kittle is an absolute stud. He's so good. So good. He might be the one offensive player that, or at least skill position player, that I would love more than any other on the Bills. I just think he's so good, man.
He's my favorite player in the league, so you ain't got to sell him.
I just think he's so good. For me, he's easy top 5. Easy top 5 tight end. Easy.
Yeah, I'm with that. Yeah, and that's kind of, I've got him at 4, just ahead of Waller. Actually, that's really just because of Waller's. He's only just back at practice, I think, as of today. He hasn't really practiced at all camp. Otherwise, I'd probably have Waller just a hair higher. I'm pretty high on that Raiders offense this year too. But actually, we're going to get into that soon. So Zach Ertz, again, with Hopkins being out for the first 6 weeks. I think we've been kind of depressed on the Cardinals as a whole so far. Anyways, Ertz follow that trend for you?
Yeah, I don't mind him. I think for me, if I miss out on the top 4, if I miss out on Kelsey, if I miss out on Andrews, if I miss out on Pitts and Kittle, then I'm kind of just like, let me wait and see if I can get one of these mid guys like Ertz or Goddard or Dawson Knox, someone like that that's attached to a relatively pass-heavy offense, apart from Goddard. But Goddard is probably the second passing target in that Eagles offense that I'd expect this year. So yeah, I'd take him if I miss out on my top 4 guys, maybe my top 5 guys. He's a guy I'd wait for in Zach Ertz, but it's a whole Cardinals team, to be honest. The whole Cardinals offense I'm a little bit down on. Again, if he's a value, I'll take him and I'll happily slot him in as my tight end, but that's only if I'm missing out on if I'm not set out to go and get one of the top guys, which I typically try and do. So
same. I mean, I'm usually either elite or I'm waiting way late. I don't really going that middle tier ever.
Yeah.
So Ertz is normally the archetype of player that I'm just not going to touch.
That you're not out there, that you're not in on. Yeah.
But him and Goddard are the two kind of in that middle range, that'll probably finish, tight end 6 to 8, somewhere there that I'm not willing to pay at ADP, but I'd be willing to, grab a little or grab in that one of those middle rounds if they slip a little. There we go.
For me, I'm happier taking Ertz at his ADP than I am taking Waller at his.
Fair.
That's just me. I look at it and go, well, can I get one of these mid-range tight end ones that might not have the upside to challenge the top 4, top 5, but I know he's going to be, as long as he's healthy, he's going to give me tight end 1 numbers. And Ertz is one of them guys I feel comfortable as a top 10 tight end. Let's say I'm pretty comfortable in that range, and I feel like he could do worse. I feel like he could do worse at the tight end position, but again, he's not. I'm not going to run out here and tell everyone to go buy the guy, but I just feel like you can do a lot worse than Zach Ertz in redraft.
You definitely can. And I think especially early on in the season, I mean, he looked pretty good with Kyler following the trade that second part of the year and when Hopkins was out hurt. So I think he'll be relied on, especially as Hollywood rebuilds that chemistry there with Kyler. Yeah. I mean, I know they played in college, they'll have camp, but Ertz and Kyler have actual game experience together.
Exactly.
Do you care at all about Tyler Higbee or Noah Fant?
No, not at all. Noah Fant a little bit more than Higbee. Higbee for me is actually,
which is kind of wild to say. Yeah,
it is strange, right? But Noah Fant, there's good reports coming out of camp. Pete Carroll seems really happy with with him, it seemed to be a big part of getting that Russell Wilson deal over the line for what reason, I don't know. And I just think after, obviously DK, obviously Tyler Lockett, after there, who are you throwing the ball to? Noah Fant, probably. Who a defense is going to zone in on? They have to take DK away because he's a stud. Absolutely. They all know Tyler Lockett can do some damage. I'm looking forward to defenses falling asleep on him, thinking, oh, Russ isn't here. They're not going to throw the ball to him and him doing a load of damage. But once they realise that, oh, hang on, Tyler Lockett isn't just Russell Wilson's mate and he can actually play wide receiver, they lock down on him. Noah Fant's going to be all alone. No, remember Noah Fant was a bit of a stud coming out of college. He was
absolutely.
It was him and Hawkinson that was the talk. Who's the tight end one? I think I had Fant just ahead of Hawkinson in that class.
As a talent, I still do.
Yeah, I just for me, I prefer him in the Seattle offense than I would in the Denver offense. So I'm looking for a little bounce back from Noah Fant and to show us what he can do, and that he's more of a talent than he's probably shown in the NFL so far. So yeah, a little bit in on Fant, out on Higbee. Not interested.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. That's I've had a lot of agreement. This is not the most engaging show, and we agree on so much of this.
Yeah, I might just have to just make up a take that I know you're going to disagree with, just to get some heat into the pod.
I just hope. I gotta hope Fant gets traded again because I don't really want Seattle to get a good quarterback, but I really want to see Fant thrive somewhere because I do think the guy's a stud as a prospect. I mean, I guess it's weird to call him a prospect going into year 4, but the guy is a good player.
I can fix it for you. You trade us George Kittle. We let Dawson Knox go in free agency to the Giants or wherever he goes, and then you guys trade for Noah Fant. Sorted. Done. Easy.
Hey, I don't make those decisions, so I can't really help you there. No, I've got a lot of Kittle gear that I'll be very upset about if that were to happen. All right, so moving on to the AFC West. Now, this might be one of the most intriguing, fun divisions to go over for fantasy purposes, in all of football. I mean, starting with the quarterbacks, this is a murderer's row of these guys. I mean, obviously, Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson, and say what you will, Derek Carr is a damn good quarterback. So
Derek Carr's awesome, man. I hate the Derek Carr slander. I really do. I think he's awesome. I think he's a fantastic quarterback.
Yeah, criminally underrated.
100%. And the guy I did dial up the blitz with Chucky, as you know, he's a big Raiders fan. Can't stand Derek Carr, and I just don't understand it. Like,
no,
I can't work out what's the issue with him. The guy's great.
Because he's not Tom Brady and didn't elevate the shit franchise to who is I don't know what more you could really be asking for.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Derek Carr. I don't stand for no Derek Carr slander around here. Has there ever been a division with 4 quarterbacks that good? I
can't think of one.
I don't think so. Unbelievable.
I feel like it's almost, I want to say, I want to rank him here, but I feel like it's almost nitpicking. I think, hold on one second here. Where did I finish with Carr? No, yeah, I have all 4 of these guys are in my top 12.
Yeah, same.
I mean, granted, yeah, Wilson is 10, Carr is 12, but still.
I think I've got Carr 11, Wilson 9 or 10. I can't remember. I've got Herbert 2, Mahomes 3.
Yeah, they got them 3 and 4. So that's I mean, we're pretty much in lockstep there. I mean, these guys are all going to be studs. If you're able to land one of these guys as your quarterback one for your fantasy team, you're in a great spot. Yeah. And in single quarterback leagues, I mean, Carr, boom, just killer value.
Yeah. Have you got Herbert or Mahomes ahead of?
I have Herbert one spot above Mahomes.
Same. Yeah, exactly the same. Yeah,
and I have Lamar above both of them, though. That's why they're 3 and 4, and not 2.
That's why they're 3 and 4. Yeah, no, I don't have that.
I'm on the Lamar MVP campaign is about to happen boat. So I'm absurdly high on Lamar Jackson for this season.
It's going to be Tom Brady's last season. You know that he's going to want to air the ball. Like, Tom Brady is going to win the MVP. Tom Brady's going to win the MVP.
You can't be shocked about that at all, but with Godwin, he's still coming back. I don't believe in the ghost of Julio Jones so much. I do believe in Evans. Gronk's gone. I don't know. I don't see it this year. I think Tampa Bay's not going to look as crisp as they have the last couple of seasons.
I mean, I hope so. I hope you're right.
I mean, they'll still be great, and I still think he'll have a tremendous season. But I don't know if I can't. I'm trying to think of the best way to properly word this, because I mean, I'm never betting against Tom Brady, but kind of like you were saying with Nook, I mean, Father Time is undefeated. I mean, eventually, and I'm not saying it will here, but I'm not saying it won't.
Yeah, I get it.
His style of play and his physical conditioning, he'll hold up, but is it going to be another 40-ton season? I'm not sure about that.
I don't know. Yeah, Brady's hurt me too many times. He's hurt me too many times for me to doubt him. I just go, yeah, Brady's whatever. He's going to do whatever he wants and win everything. It's just easier that way for me.
I still have him as my QB7 for fantasy because of that. I mean, he's still going to be Brady and shred people from the pocket, but I think it's more, just not having a fully healthy Godwin for at least the first part of the season for sure, and the lack of Gronkowski. I think that's just going to hurt just a little. And obviously, they lost the heart of the team in Rojo, so that could be really. Now, forget going too much down the quarterbacks anymore. They're all studs. Get one of them. The top guys are worth drafting early in Herbert and Mahomes, and you'll get. Yeah. Honestly, the one I probably am least likely to draft is Wilson because he's the one going at an appropriate price.
Yeah.
I mean,
and Wilson's also the one that I'm like, well, it's a new offense, and I know, there's a lot of talk about he's got some weapons and he's got this and he's got that, but it's still new.
I think they're going to run the ball a lot in Denver too.
Yeah, I know that Derek Carr's going to throw the ball a ton to Devontae Adams. I know that Mahomes is a stud. I know that Herbert's a stud. Wilson's the only one that I don't know for sure what they're going to do. And like you say, at appropriate value, I'd rather Carr at his price.
I want great value with Carr. Or if I'm going to pay
I take one
price, I want the stud.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously you have to have the high pick for that, but still. Now, kind of like the NFC West counterparts, the running backs in this division may leave a little bit to be desired. I mean, we do have, now in this case, though, one true stud in Austin Eckler. Obviously, we're both going to love him a lot, so keep him real quick and simple. How much do you love him? Running back, what this season for you? 3. Love it.
PPR.
Yeah, PPR. Yeah, we're surprised. Yes. Unless we state otherwise, everything is redraft, full PPR, and single QB. Now, obviously, we're mixing in everything else, but if we're just talking in generalities, that's the format. So, behind JT and McCaffrey for me.
Yeah, exactly.
And I wouldn't even hate if somebody drafted him over McCaffrey. I
could understand,
but I wouldn't hate if somebody did it.
Yeah, I could understand if people have got him as number 2 and take him as number 2. But for me, I'm really happy, really comfortable with him as my RB3.
I'd be, over the moon. Josh Jacobs. I still view it as he does have control of that backfield, but there are trade rumors where obviously we just talked about we expect Carr to be throwing with a lot more volume this season. We know Patriots historically like to rotate backs more, and now McDaniels is in town. So are you down on the guy?
I'm so out on Josh Jacobs. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how out I am on him.
All right.
I don't want any part of the Raiders backfield. And if I do have any part of it, I want the rookie.
He did look good in that Hall of Fame game.
Josh Jacobs is playing in the 4th quarter of a Hall of Fame game. What is he? Why has he upset Josh McDaniels? What has he done? The player, no problem. I don't mind Josh Jacobs. I think he's a good player. I liked him at Bama. I thought he was worth a first-round pick coming out. No. Josh McDaniels is going to run what the Patriots do. He's just going to go. He's going to rotate his running backs. Josh Jacobs not going to see the bulk of work. I think he's going to lose. Zamir White's going to take the goal line stuff, I'd expect.
You think?
As long as he's healthy, yeah, I'd expect so. I'm out on Josh Jacobs. I'm all the way out. All the way out.
I'm not as down as you are. I don't think I'm out at market price again because he's still going at that fringe RB2 price, so I'm probably not going to pay that. I'll probably take another receiver in that range instead. But for me, when it comes to things like this, I think he's just clearly the best talent of the group there, and unless he gets moved, I mean, if these trade rumors prove to have any sort of can be substantiated at all, okay, maybe I'm a little more down. But I mean, if he stays in Las Vegas, and the fact that they didn't pick up his 5th-year option, honestly, I think McDaniels is going to break trend a little bit and kind of ride the guy.
Ride him.
I'm looking at it a little bit different. I mean, I think they're looking at not re-signing him, and he doesn't care, so he's just ride the wheels off of this guy.
So you think they're not going to re-sign him, so it doesn't matter to them, just ride him to the wheels fall off, and he's gonna think I'm playing for a contract, so better run like a colt.
Bingo. Which is what the Raiders are hoping for.
I mean, look, theoretically it makes sense. I'd need to see it before I could invest in it, and I appreciate that. The whole point of the value is predetermining, and going, well, look, this is what I think is going to happen. This is what I've got him at value, and now he's worth X amount. But for me, I'm not sold on it. I think I think it's going to be a committee there, and I think by the end of the season, he's not even going to be the first man in the committee.
All right.
Yeah, we had a disagreement. It only took an hour.
Yeah, I don't think I can't go that far. I have some concerns, but but it is nice. Little conflict for once. We need that. The shows are boring if we agree on everything.
Give me Devin Singletary over Josh Jacobs any day of the week.
Oof. All right. That I can't get on board with. Although
for this season.
Yeah, for this season. No, I truly think that Jacobs is going to get enough. I really, really think that's the thought of why they didn't pick up the option, because they don't have interest in him after this year. And honestly, for me, the volume concerns are more how often are they going to be running, period. I think this is going to be a way pass-heavy offense.
Oh, they're going to throw the ball a lot. I'm looking forward to it, to be honest. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
So I think even in the red zone, they'll be looking to get it to Waller and Adams a lot more than trying to run the ball in.
Yeah.
So I think that TD opportunity is going to be low.
It's going to be interesting. But at the moment, I'm out.
So for the next duo here, the next backfield, I have to rephrase this a little bit because we got a money quote today, or at least somewhat of one. So Javonte Williams, we know the guy's an excellent running back. Guy's a stud. But he shares the position with the still not washed Melvin Gordon. However, they were talking to Melvin Gordon today, and he was saying, hey, they want Vontae to be the guy, the coaches. So coming directly from Melgo himself, I mean, how are you looking at this duo? I mean, obviously the Broncos want Javonte to be the guy. I mean, he's the young back and thing. But I mean, with that quote from Melvin, are we thinking even a little? I think the assumption as a generality has been something like a 60-40 split for Javonte going into this year is what we expect. Does that make you think, it's going to be a little heavier in Javonte's favor since we're hearing it from Gordon?
I think we'll get there. I think to start the year, I'd expect to see a 50-50, 60-40 split. I think as the season progresses, I think we're going to see more Javonte Williams. And I think he's going to start to commandeer that backfield, knowing that, once we expect Melvin Gordon to be gone at the end of this year, it's his to take over and to make his, running backs don't have a long life. And once his contract's down, you're going to have to pay him. You're probably not going to want to pay him because he's a running back. No one wants to pay a running back. Get what you can out of him whilst he's young. We've seen with Jonathan Taylor with Najee Harris, that running backs, they don't need any time to acclimatise to the NFL. Just throw them in there, beat them up for 4 or 5 years, and then move on to the next one. That's the way to play the running back game in the NFL as far as I'm concerned. I don't like the fact that they haven't done that with Williams so far because I believe he's got the talent. I think he's a fantastic running back. I think they should have done it last year and gone the backfield jaws. They didn't. I thought they were going to do it this year. It doesn't look like that's the plan straight away. But I think by the end of the year, that will be the case and it will be Javonte Williams' backfield. So yeah, I'm still in on him on talent. I just don't think he's going to have that RB1 upside this year. If he's my RB2, I'm pretty stoked at that, to be honest.
I'm with you there as far as Javonte goes, and I thought it was kind of predictable to see that he wasn't going to take over in full last year because of the coaching staff. Vic Fangio, man, old school as hell.
Old school.
I don't think he was ever going to give Javonte 65+% of that workload, no matter how well he did.
I'd like to have seen it though.
It would have been nice. I mean, granted, I am a Gordon fan, so and he was already being pushed way down last year. Now this year, I'm more in line with your thinking. I do think as we get in that final probably third of the season or so, you're going to really see Javonte be the true primary back. Until then, probably 60-40, 55-35, 64. Yeah, for Javonte. I mean, he'll still be the better player. I think he's still being a little overdrafted. I see him being taken in the second still. I just can't do it.
I can't get to that at all.
Melvin Gordon, however, is still going pretty late. Pick 101, RB 36 can average.
I'm taking him there, man.
No,
I'm taking. Yeah.
I'm still taking him there too. I mean, I think up until I think that probably week 10-ish, when I think you and I see a bigger Javonte takeover. I mean, he's going to be an RB2.
That's the thing, is it wouldn't surprise me if he's an RB2 until you say, week 10 or whenever they feel like Javonte's ready to take over the backfield. But not only that, for me, if Javonte gets hurt,
Gordon's still good enough to be the guy.
Exactly. I don't like to project injury, same as you, but he's not. Javonte Williams isn't going to get hurt, and they're going to go, "Oh, well, we've got to go trade for Kareem Hunt, or we've got to go do that."
Right.
No, they're going to go Melvin Gordon. He's the rock. And
thank God we have him. Yeah.
Outside the top 100, you've gone and got yourself a borderline RB1.
Those are the kind of later backs you want to take. Somebody with a path to that upside. I mean, you ideally want it to be without injury, but if you're going to take a guy who requires injury to be a path to be that RB1 level, then he's a guy that needs to have a role as is, which he does.
That's the thing. Yeah, he has standalone value. Even if Javonte Williams doesn't get hurt and plays the whole season, it goes as we expect. We still expect him to be an RB2 for the bulk of the year and then probably finish as a mid RB3. Fine. He's got standalone value. But if the worst happens, if it doesn't go the way that we expect it to go, there's potential for skyrocketed value. And that's what I like. I'm looking at that going, well, that's a pick that makes sense where it is, but the potential could be huge.
Right.
And that's what I'm looking for.
I mean, the guy's been a great back for a long time. This may be his last year. Real relevancy, I feel like given his age.
Disrespected as well.
He has. I think that's part of the reason I gravitate towards him.
Yeah. Because he was a Todd Gurley class, right? And everyone was like, Todd Gurley this, Todd Gurley that. Well, where's Todd Gurley now? Melvin Gordon's still running the damn rock and doing a pretty good job doing it.
Yep. And I mean, and while he probably will decline a little bit in terms of talent here, he's going to keep a job for another few years. He's going to he's going to have an AP-like career in the sense that he'll keep a backup job until he's 32, 33. Yeah. If he wants to, anyways.
I agree. I feel like he's been disrespected his whole career, and it's not really fair on him. He's not really done much wrong.
Honestly, his biggest mistake was rejecting that extension from the Chargers a few years ago.
Yeah.
The agent I hope he fired that guy. No, seriously, his agent screwed him big time.
Screwed him, yeah.
All right, so how about the Chiefs? I think we got a bit of a mess over there. CEH has been underwhelming the first couple of years of his career. Jerick McKinnon is Jerick McKinnon. Rojo, as much as I want to love the guy and do love the guy, he seems to have not been making much of a camp impact at all. You see a lot of reports he may not make the team. And Isaiah Pacheco is a 7th-round rookie. I mean,
Rojo, I'm completely out on. Like the Chiefs don't run the ball enough, and the guy's got hands like a brick. Like I'm not interested. Not interested in Rojo at all whatsoever. Not one bit. Jerick McKinnon's Jerick McKinnon. So no, I'm not interested in him. Unless it's real late and I'm just taking a flyer on someone. Now CEH, I liked him coming out of LSU. I don't think we've seen him at his best. I feel like what's his ADP? Where's he going? RB
want to say right at fringe. Yeah, RB25 right now, 65 overall on average.
So he's a top end RB3.
Yeah. The top RB3, according to
the top RB3. I might take a punt on him there. The guy can catch passes. They've lost Tyreek Hill. We don't know how they're planning to replace Tyreek Hill. Now, it looks like, obviously, I know we're going to get talking about the wide receivers later. They've added some guys. But, I'm comfortable with him as an RB3. I'm comfortable with him at that value.
I'm definitely okay with him as an RB3 for sure, but I still think, if he's there 65, so beginning of the 6th round, that's probably still too much for me. With, again, the uncertainty about how this offense is going to operate as a whole without Tyreek. I mean, it's added a bunch of different receivers. I mean, I expect Kelsey to get a little bit of an uptick with the elite talent being gone. But situationally, I mean, it is still appealing. It's still going to be a high-powered offense. His competition at the position sucks.
He's the best running back there. I mean, for me, I'd still... Yeah, I don't know. 65 might be a little bit much, but I like him as an idea of a high-end RB3. So if I could get him a little bit later than where he is, but still in that range, as a top 5 RB3, that kind of range, I'm taking him. I wouldn't blame anyone if they went first RB3 off the board. I'm taking CEH and top 65, 66 picks. I'm not blaming anyone. I like the swing. I like to take a swing occasionally, and I think he's a guy that we've seen the potential, we've seen the talent. And he's had games for Kansas City, especially in his first season where he's looked impressive. I think it was against the Texans. He looked good against the Bills. He looked good. I know we allowed them to run the ball, and he looked good. Like, there's flashes there, and I just feel with a lack of competition in front of him, with maybe a little bit of a change to the offense with Tyreek Hill gone, and if CH can stay healthy, stay healthy throughout camp and throughout the year, I feel like there's some upside there. I don't mind CH.
Hope's not
Pacheco's the other one, the 7th round rookie. He seems to be getting some running at camp. I've seen him running some routes and catching some deep passes from Patrick Mahomes, which gets me a little bit excited / a little bit worried. But he's maybe another guy.
Camp highlights for sure. I mean, any 7th rounder though, I'm generally going to have some hesitation on. So we'll
mainly in Dynasty, I'm looking at Pacheco more than redraft. Not really much interest. So if you're asking me which Chiefs back in redraft, is by elimination, it's got to be CEH.
Fair enough. I mean, there's always an answer of none. But if I'm with you on CH. I don't even need that big of a drop. I probably just need him to be half a round to a round later, towards the end of the 6th, early 7th versus early 6th.
Yeah.
And I probably
it's not much of a drop, and it's.
I mean, I'm taking him over AJ Dillon, Damian Harris, Miles Sanders, all these guys right after him.
Yeah.
Elijah Mitchell, J.K. Dobbins, and I should probably even take him in front of Dobbins.
Oh no, I don't know about that.
I'm worried about his health a lot.
Dobbins. If I see them both on the board, I think I'd probably take again, for me, it's just all upside.
Dynasty still Dobbins, but redraft.
Even redraft, I'm looking at it going the upside. If Dobbins can stay healthy, and I would probably take my shot on Dobbins over CH, but it's close. It's close for me. And
that's the running backs there. Now, wide receivers. So we've talked about the exit of Tyreek, but we do have an incoming elite receiver to the division, Davante Adams. Now, it's been quite some time, but do you think we'll see some of that college chemistry with Carr reappear? And is he going to be so dominant in the pass game that you have to bump down Renfrow and Waller?
Yes and yes. Yes and yes. They paid a lot of money for Davante Adams. He's back with his guy Derek Carr. They're gonna. I say force the ball to him. You don't ever need to force the ball to Davante Adams, but he's going to be easily the number one targeted player on that offense. He's going to, and so much so that you've got no choice. There's just not going to be enough passes left to go around to Renfrow to expect him to have another season like he did last year. The thing that I'm excited about is I look at Devontae Adams, I look at Hunter Renfrow, I look at Darren Waller, and then I look at Josh McDaniels, and I go, well, straight away I looked at Adams and Renfrow, and I went, that's got some Randy Moss and Wes Welker about it. You know, the 07, 08 Patriots with Josh McDaniels as the OC. Then you add Darren Waller. So is Josh McDaniels sitting there and going, so I've got my Randy Moss, I've got my Wes Welker. Imagine in 07 if we had Gronk as well. How would I have schemed that offense up? Fast forward to 2022, and listen, Devontae Adams is great. He's not Randy Moss. Darren Waller's great. He's not Rob Gronkowski. But they're not a million miles away. The biggest hurdle they're going to have in getting the ball to these guys is that the offensive line might not be able to hold up. Yeah, but if they can fix that, this could be a scary passing offense.
Right. I really agree. And I think, I think the backs are decent pass protecting backs too. So if they can provide proper support,
they're going to need to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we know that about Drake and Jacobs. I mean, they may not be elite, but I think they're both above average as pass protectors. Yeah. I'm not really sure about White or how he's been doing so far, but I mean, he's a big guy. I wouldn't be surprised if he can hold his own there too.
Yeah, I'm sure he can get in the way.
Yeah. Can he actually block? Yeah, different question. Yeah. But I tend to have a little more faith on the bigger backs in that department.
Well, I know that Zach Moss can block, so if they want to send us Josh Jacobs for Zach Moss, more than welcome. We'll make that happen.
I mean, is Zach Moss even going to see the field this season in Buffalo? Shoot.
No, but he can block.
Oh, all right. So, I think I largely agree. I mean, Renfrow, it's impossible to sniff. I think he was wide receiver 11 last year overall.
Yeah, he's not going to finish as a wide receiver 1 again. This is not.
But I do still view Waller as a top tight end target, and I do think the quality of Renfrow's targets will improve. It's just the volume's going to go down so much. But I think Adams and Waller are going to take most of the defensive attention in the passing game.
I have Waller outside of my top 5 tight ends for this year. Not by much, but I don't think he breaks into the top 5. And last time I was looking at ADP, writing some articles, his ADP was 5, and I feel like you're taking him at his absolute ceiling. 5. Yeah, for me, I feel like that's his ceiling. I don't see there being a path with Adams in the team that he can make himself. Like the top 2 are going to be Kelsey and Andrews because there's no top receiver there. Then I've got Kyle Pitts. His only competition really is Drake London, who's a rookie. Looks good, but he's a rookie. Then I've got George Kittle, who, if he can stay healthy, I think we've discussed George Kittle enough. He's a stud. Dawson Schultz.
That's what I say. Schultz, you have to have at 5 then. Okay.
Yeah, Schultz, you have to have at 5. And I just don't see, if he does break into the top 5, for me, he breaks in at number 5. I'm taking him at his absolute ceiling. I don't know.
I can buy that.
Yeah. Good. I'm not crazy.
No. Now, in terms of another incoming elite guy, not a receiver, but affects the receivers, and that's Russell Wilson in Denver. So we've had to see some very talented receivers in Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy struggle the last few years with the likes of Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock, and there's the Kendall Hinton game. And it's just been a disaster in Denver. I mean, I in my youth, my heart used to break for Larry Fitzgerald, watching him throughout his career with the quarterbacks that man had to deal with. At least he had Kurt Warner for a little stretch, but just in general, man, to see one of the truly elite all-time talents at that position, just
love Larry Fitz.
Never really get to his full potential, in my opinion, because of that. It sucks to see. So I'm glad that these guys, and Sutton and Jeudy, now have a real quarterback. Now with with Wilson in town, number 1, how much of a boost did these guys get? And number 2, who do you prefer of the 2 for fantasy?
I think the boost is huge. It has to be. Like you've gone from Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater was out of town. Drew Lock was the projected starter, to Russell Wilson. Like straight away, there's a massive, massive bounce that you have to give all the pass catchers. As much as that, I was looking forward to seeing Tim Patrick in that offense.
Yeah, that sucks.
I was really, I saw he was a value. You could even, in redraft, he was a value. In Dynasty, you could pick him up in trades for, pennies on what you would pay for Sutton and Jeudy. I was excited. Obviously, his injury opens the offense up for Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. For me, it's Cortland Sutton. All the reports out of camp is that he's the go-to guy. He's the guy that Russell Wilson's really sort of zoning in on and becoming the number one target. And as much as I love Jerry Jeudy coming out of Alabama, I've seen Cortland Sutton impress me in the NFL. I've not really seen Jerry Jeudy do that. He runs some fantastic routes, but some of the hand issues that plagued him his last season at Bama seem to have followed him to the NFL. There seems to be some injuries. It just one of the things that doesn't seem to be clicking for him. Now, he's a super talented wide receiver, but part of me just thinks it's a little bit like Sammy Watkins. We know the guy's a stud. We know the guy was going to go high in the draft, gets to the NFL, and it's just like, is this the same guy that was at Clemson? I look at Jerry Jeudy, I'm like, is this the same guy that was at Bama? I don't know. This is his opportunity. There's no one in his way. There's no one in his way. Now it's him and Cortland Sutton. There's no one. Tim Patrick's out. Russell Wilson. Okay, they got Albert Awokabunam. Okay, like if Albert Awokabunam's stealing targets from you, you've got issues. For me, this is make or break for Jerry Jeudy. So give me Cortland Sutton.
Up until recently, had staunchly been on the Jeudy side of this. Actually, I do believe in him that much of a talent. Largely, what gets pointed to is his route running, but it's important because that's his best skill, and a very important one for NFL play. And my logic was really he's the guy that's going to be able to get open most consistently for Russ and earn targets in that fashion. But while I try to take camp reports with a grain of salt, it's been pretty overwhelming no matter what Broncos source you're looking at, whether it's beat reporters or other insiders, coaching quotes. Everything seems to be pointing to Sutton, and he is going to be the outside threat, whereas Judy's going to work more from the slot, at least in comparison to Sutton. So it's I look at the quality of target will probably be better for Sutton too.
Yeah, I look at it and I think, and it isn't an apples for apples comparison, but I go, okay, Cortland Sutton, DK Metcalf, Jerry Jeudy, Tyler Lockett. That's how it's going to pan out in the offense. And Jerry Jeudy's going to have games where you go, big game. Guy caught 8 passes, scored a couple of touchdowns, 120 yards. Fantastic. But
I think those are good production analogies.
Yeah, I feel like the consistent production is going to be Cortland Sutton, whereas the games that, Jeudy might have a little stretch, or he might have one every 3 or 4 games that he pops a little bit. But I think the consistency is going to be with Cortland Sutton. And like you say, everything you're hearing, doesn't matter where you look, which Broncos beat writer you go to, or where you're getting your information from, it's all Cortland Sutton.
Yeah, it's too much to ignore. I can't.
Yeah.
You have to adjust to new information, so I've had to make that adjustment here. And with Jeudy, I think the lack of really hearing much, period, is actually a little bit of a concern. Whereas I'm
worrying,
still,
right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still. I'm not quitting the talent. I can't not after 2 years with Bridgewater and Locke. I mean, no way. But you would still think that through a few weeks of camp at this point, there would have at least been one day that was Jerry Jeudy day. I mean, every player under the sun, there's at least one day on social media or you see on NFL.com or something that, this guy was fucking great today. That's not been Jerry Jeudy ever
at all. I've not heard one report where he's been the guy. And look, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, working with the quarterbacks that he's worked with. Yeah. But this, for me, is the make or break year for Jerry Jeudy, where we're going to go, he has to produce this year. Otherwise, it's what could have been, and unfortunately not what is.
Yeah, I would hate to see him go down the Watkins path. So I hope he can put it together with the
fingers crossed. I'm a fan of Jerry Jeudy. Give me Cortland Sutton.
All right, so those are some incoming elite players. Now to circle back to what we touched on, the exiting elite player in Tyreek Hill in Kansas City. So they've lost one of the NFL's best, and they've filled that position now with the likes of Juju, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. They had returned McCole Hardman. We'll see how serious the injury that he was carted off with today is. Yeah. I'm not sure he was particularly relevant anyways, but still part of the group. And then we've got rookie Sky Moore. So trying to not consider CEH or Kelsey too much, just focusing on the wide receiver room. I mean, how do you see this group in particular shaken out?
I think Juju's going to be a steal. I think he's going to be an absolute steal. And I hate to say it, I don't like Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm not a fan. I don't like all that TikTok nonsense. I don't like, he's just not, I'm not a fan of him. But I just think to overlook him in this offense is silly. This is, how did teams decide? No one could slow the Chiefs down last year for a certain period. And then all of a sudden, everyone was slowing the Chiefs down. And it took a little while to realize, what are they doing now? They're playing 2 safeties deep. They're forcing them to dink and dime the way up the field. Well, you force Patrick Mahomes to dink and dime his way up the field. He's going to be dink and diming that ball to Travis Kelce and to Juju Smith-Schuster an awful lot. Because Juju's going to work out the slot. Now, I know that in the preseason game that they had against the Bears, I think Mahomes throwing to his wide receivers, I think he completed one to McCole Hardman, who says was carted off, and two to Valdez-Scantling. Now, I wouldn't be surprised to see Scantling become the deep threat. And almost they replace Tyreek Hill with 2 players. They go, okay, well, when we want to use, when they're so used to getting Hill free underneath and letting him do the damage. Well, if you want to go underneath, let's go Juju. We know that he's not going to do the damage with the ball in his hand that Tyreek Hill is, but then they still have that option of stretching the field like Tyreek can. Maybe, not as much. Tyreek's a freak, but stretching the field with Valdez-Scantling. You're not going to replace a guy like Tyreek Hill 1-for-1, and it doesn't appear like they've tried to. It looks like they've gone and diversified the wide receiver room a little bit, added some extra skills as opposed to just burning speed that they've liked before.
That was good to see.
Yeah, and I think Juju's going to be. I'm high on Juju. I think Juju's going to be a high-end wide receiver 2 this year, high to mid-end wide receiver 2.
So it's safe to say you're in at a wide receiver 34 price, 82 overall.
Steal. Absolute steal for me. Absolute steal.
I'd rather have him. Let's see just a quick scroll up of receivers going ahead of him on average. So we've got Gabriel Davis. Give me Juju. DeAndre Hopkins. Still give me Juju. Hunter Renfrow.
Give me Juju.
Michael Thomas. Now there's an interesting one.
There's, but I feel like they're both undervalued at the moment.
Yeah, I would agree. Thielen and A-Rob.
Give me Juju over Thielen. A-Rob's.
Yeah,
you go into the basically the wide receiver 1, but the number 2 target on the Chiefs for the wide receiver 2, but also number 2 target on the Rams. Yeah. I don't.
And who has the better quarterback? Yeah,
I don't know. That's a close one for me, but I feel like Juju's being slept on a little bit.
Yeah, no, he definitely is. Wide receiver 34. That's a smart gamble.
Yeah, we like a smart gamble.
Yeah, that's plus EV right there. That's what that is.
Yeah.
And then now we have the one consistent group of receivers here, and that's over in Los Angeles. So they're returning essentially the same wide receiver group as 2022, led by Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Also have Josh Palmer, Jalen Guyton. So really focusing, though, on the higher end here. In what should be another explosive year for this offense. How high do you rank Keenan Allen? And do you trust Williams' health and consistency enough to trust him as your wide receiver 2 on a team?
Yes, for both. I think we could see Keenan Allen's best year, or maybe if not his best, one of his best. This guy finishes as a wide receiver 1 almost every season. If not, he misses it by a smidge.
Yes,
and I just think he's gonna, if he finishes any lower than wide receiver 10, I'll be surprised.
Yeah, I would be too. I really would be. My wide receiver 8 right now, so I'm way high.
My wide receiver 8 as well.
Crazy. Our rankings are way too close. Yeah. And had I realized this, I would have thrown some different divisions. Maybe we have a little different They're out there. But but super high. I mean, great offense.
really high.
He's still tremendous receiver. He's another guy that has never really relied heavily on his physical capabilities. For his kind of like Hopkins. So even as he ages a little bit, I think he'll be able to stay at a very high level a year or two longer than most receivers would.
For sure.
Yeah, good quarterback. Great quarterback, getting him the ball. I mean, weapons all over the place. He's never going to be the guy that's going to get bracketed real hard or anything like that either. So he's
exactly that
to the moon.
And another thing, obviously we know how good Justin Herbert is. We know how good Keenan Allen is. I think if Mike Williams can stay healthy, there's no reason that he can't be a high-end wide receiver too. I think they both ended as wide inside the top 12 wide receivers last year. I think Mike Williams was he wide receiver 11, or did he just finish? Was he just outside in the end?
Was he? I don't feel like that was the case. Although, are we talking the season or like on a points per game basis here?
Let me have a look. So PPR wide receiver 12 for Mike Williams.
Holy crap, he was.
And I think Keenan Allen was wide receiver 10.
Allen was PPR wide receiver 10, so 10 and 12.
Yeah, so 10 and 12. There's not many offenses that can sustain 2 wide receiver 1s for fantasy football.
No.
But with Justin Herbert, we've got a quarterback that we know loves to sling the ball. They love to put points up. They go for it on offense. They're not scared.
Yes.
The first all the reports coming out of camp, Zion Nelson has been a stud. Zion Johnson, rather. The guard from Miami has been a stud. Now, with Rashawn Slater, that offensive line is only going to get better. The offensive line gets better, you give Justin Herbert more time. You give Justin Herbert more time, you give Mike Williams more time. Not necessarily to get open, because he's just going to mosh you anyway, but Keenan Allen's going to get open. There's only there's only a certain amount of time you can cover that guy for, and then you're in trouble. And if that line holds up, which all the reports are, it's improved from last year. I'm excited about this Chargers offense.
Throw. Yeah, Keenan, Williams, Eckler. Honestly, I like Josh Palmer as just one of your late grabs.
Yeah, best ball.
I think
He's a best ball guy.
Definitely best ball. But I mean, even if you're in a deeper league, if you're like round 18 or something, a Mr. Irrelevant kind of pick, golden, because again, it takes injury. But as much as I do love Mike Williams, that's been
we know he can get
problem.
hurt.
So if you even get just a little, 2-3 week stretch where Palmer has to fill that role, I mean, you're probably looking at a wide receiver 3 that whole stretch. So
yeah, for sure.
All right, tight ends. We got some talent here too in this division. I think it's a pretty big actual split. Actually, I think the haves and have-nots here. I think it's about obviously as good as it gets with Kelsey, and not far behind from a talent perspective when it comes to Waller. I don't think we're going to spend too much time in Waller. We've already kind of beat that Raiders passing breakdown to death here. But Kelsey, in my mind, for me, even with Andrews, he's still obviously tight end 1. Yeah. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. This guy was the tight end 1 for God knows how many years, 6 or 7 seasons. Okay, he was tight end 2 last year, but now the biggest threat to his targets is out of town.
Right.
He's Travis Kelce, tight end 1. I don't even think there's a question. I
think the only question is this a career year for him? I mean, honestly, I know he's going to be 33, but he doesn't play like it.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm big on Travis Kelce this year.
I still am taking him first round in a 1 QB league too.
Yeah, I'm taking him anywhere. But if I've got pick 10 to 12, I'm probably loading up and taking him.
Yeah, somewhere in there. It all depends. I mean, for me, I'm getting really obsessed with the idea of Diggs and Barkley at the turn there. If you can make it happen in that 10 to 12 spot in a 1 QB league, but if for whatever reason I'm missing one of those guys in that red, like Kelsey is the other one I'm taking instead.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact that still Diggs and Barkley is possible with the 1-2 turn.
Crazy, right? That's crazy.
You could have the wide receiver and running back 1 overall at the end of your term. That's just I mean, things got to break right, but it's combo that I just
that
can't stop thinking
upside's
about.
there. Yeah, exactly. I like that. Might have to steal that from you.
And I think come Labor Day weekend, when most people are doing their drafts, that won't be an option anymore.
Won't be the case anymore. Yeah.
But over the next 2 weeks, if you can do it, take advantage. If you're picking late, if you get this is a year, I don't think it's so bad. If you're in a home league, a friends league where you do some 100-yard dash random competition for your draft spot.
Yeah.
If you end up in that 10, 11, 12 spot, this is a year not to be upset about it. Okay,
Not
fine. You don't get McCaffrey or Taylor. You're still making out like a bandit. There's some killer value. And so fighting for scraps now, and the other tight ends. So we got Gerald Everett, Alberto. Great offenses they're in. Absolute best case scenario, they're the fourth option for their teams. So do you have any interest whatsoever?
So not really. Now, again, I was writing we were doing our big team previews at Fantasy and Frames, and we covered the West, the AFC West, and I was on the tight ends, and I looked into it, and at the time, Everett's ADP was slightly lower than Alberto's, and for me, it was like, well, if I can get that guy cheaper, I'll take that guy, because it's all much of much once you get past a certain number when it comes to tight ends. Still probably, but it's going to be interesting to see how Alberto is used with the Tim Patrick injury. Does he become the third option in the pass game?
Yeah, that's fair.
Do they just utilize the running backs a little bit more? I don't know. So until I can see that, I'm just going to assume that he's the third choice. So I've bumped him up a little bit more. It all depends. And to be honest, when it comes to tight ends, if I've missed out on the top guys, I'm not that bothered. I'll just take whoever.
That's kind of where I'm at too. Like we talked about earlier. Yeah, if it's not an elite tight end, and I'm punting, waiting till the end. Actually, Everett's one of my favorite targets, mainly because I think he has a chance to be a primary red zone target. Eckler's not the biggest guy in the world. Williams obviously has the size, but again, health could be, you never know, and he can play that role. But I mean, part of Williams' effectiveness is moving down the field, not necessarily those real tight red zone situations. He's got the size and hands to do that, and he's done it. We've seen him do it, but I mean, that's not his best skill. So for me, I think that just opens more scoring opportunity for Everett than a lot of the other options late in at the that bargain bin tight end area, and that's what the separator is touchdowns in that group. I mean, there's very little difference otherwise. It's all who scores.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I'd put in the article. I've seen Everett do it in the NFL. I've seen him have games when he was at the Rams where he was a pass catcher, a legit NFL pass catcher from the tight end position.
Look good.
I've not seen Albert Owokabunam do that, so I'll take what I know at the lesser value. I'm paying a lesser price and getting a proven product. But with the Tim Patrick news, it's probably leveled it out a little bit for me.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And I wrote this actually. Well, actually, no, I take that back. I did write this after Tim Patrick. I think I actually was looking at Javonte as the third pass catching option in the offense before.
Which is very possible. Yeah, very possible.
Which is actually why I had Everett at fourth, too, for best. Because, I mean, behind, obviously, Allen and Williams, but also, of course, Eckler. And might be behind Palmer. But we'll see. I think, again, red zone is really how you
it could just be touchdown upside.
So we went through. I mean, this is the longest episode so far this season, but I think part of that is because, I mean, when we do the East divisions in the last episode, there's a lot more to work with here in the two Western.
The West, the
there's
talent some good teams. Some good talent
through the roof. I mean, when you're talking about like offensively, AFC East, Jets and Patriots, not a ton of fantasy appeal there. I mean, you got some stuff to work with in Miami and Buffalo, but it thins out pretty quickly, position by position in that division.
For sure.
Whereas we've got studs throughout in these two. So, this was fun, man. And honestly, we haven't been as active in the league chats this year, so haven't been able to chop up, fantasy talk with you as much. So this was good to do. Pumped about it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to coming and winning a good amount of those leagues that we're in together again.
There's one I know you've probably got locked up, but otherwise, coming for you. Yeah, Dynasty Superflex League is probably yours. You've built a monster in that league.
Yeah.
And
Done all right somehow.
And I'm still pretty young. I had to blow that thing up after the first year. My startup draft was not the best, but in these other leagues, I got you.
You're coming for me.
I'm coming, man. We got to get a redraft league going too, so I can get you on a little more level playing field. I need you not in your strongest element.
Yeah, not in Dynasty. Set one up. Let's do a Rogue Nation one. Let's
we will. Actually, we do need to. I mean, we've already got 7 people that we can fill in immediately, and some friends that we know we can put in right away.
Yeah.
Friends of I was about to say friends of the collective, but we do have friends of Rogue that are kind of like unofficially part of it for just whatever reasons. Probably would be contributors if there weren't circumstances preventing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but this was kick ass. So to kind of close out, just simple every week plugs. Please use our Prize Picks code Rogue for when you're placing prop bets. Same promo code on Underdog, and make sure you use refer-ff_tycoon for sleeper if you're going to deposit in the squads mode and do prop picks that way. So you get a $20 match there. We're going to be putting out picks. This man is, I'd say, my biggest partner in crime in that regard when it comes to these NFL picks this fall. So we are going to come at you with Rogue Risks or whatever the hell we're going to call it for the fall. You'll get those every Sunday. We'll be making Thursday night picks. When it comes to prize picks specifically, we'll still be doing taco picks for you. So the betting content, the prop pick content, still going to be coming hard and fast. Let Bill speak to it a little more himself when I give him the floor here in a second. But his betting articles were definitely a highlight for us last year, being able to link them to the football betting advice. Just awesome breakdowns. I mean, a lot of handicappers or pick providers, so to speak, have these little decent write-ups to go along. It's always good to have the information, but Billy's got a style that makes it very easy to absorb. Never too wordy or too lays the stats out in an overly complicated way to where you're like that gif of Zach Galifianakis with all the numbers going, while you're trying to just figure out how he came to it, what process took him to. So make sure you're keeping an eye out for everything that's coming from Bill. And before we get out of here, one last final plug. Give you the floor, Billy. Anything you want to discuss or throw out there?
Well, just just say, like, when the season comes around a little bit closer, we'll have a lot of I tend to get a lot of the prop bets out. Some of the season long bets will be coming out soon as well. A lot of that stuff will be over at FBA, but we're going to be doing a lot of stuff at Rogue as well. We're looking forward to getting that betting podcast started as well. So just keep your eyes peeled, and you guys will be seeing a lot more of me.
And before I forget, actually, also got to plug the Discord. So we are on Discord, Rogue Fantasy, Rogue Bets. You can find us there. You can go to my profile for a link. Free to join. No strings attached there. Just come join, talk betting, talk fantasy with us. I'm gonna push Billy to make sure we can put any of his future bets
that'll
on
be
the
in
Discord
there
as well. Beautiful.
That'll be in there.
Yeah, it's about time to really get into futures real soon. Start thinking about week 1. Over at the Discord, we'll be getting into DFS heavy soon as well. Probably not us two as much, but Rogue partner Wardy and Chelsea, that they're a couple of our DFS heads, and they are going to help guide us through that sometimes impossible maze. So, yeah, I've kind of focused back more on props versus DFS. Just too many sharks in DFS for me. So I'm letting other people help guide me in those waters. And yeah, that's where we're going to leave. We're just pumped for the season. Pumped to have one of our own here on the show for the first time this season. So thank you all for joining us. We are going to get out of here. You enjoy your evening. And this meeting of the Fantasy Boardroom is adjourned.